Have you ever watched a story unfold at midnight from somewhere in Chicago or maybe London, maybe Toronto? Comment your city and time, because what you're about to hear changes everything you think you know about humanity. The Council had always believed Earth was a primitive planet, a stubborn, chaotic mess of a species, capable of violence, yes, but only in the primitive sense. Their diplomats described humans as young bloods, dangerous in a bar fight, harmless in a war. How wrong they were. For centuries, the Galactic Council operated under an unspoken agreement. Humanity was to be tolerated, monitored, and gently guided, a kind of interstellar probation. But when humans finally earned a seat at the Intergalactic Tribunal, the Council made a mistake that would cost them far more than they ever imagined. It started on Daedalus Prime. The planet wasn't special until the humans built an embassy there. Among towering crystal spires and synthetic air gardens, the human envoy brought his daughter, a child barely 7 years old. Her name was Elia, and she was Earth's best ambassador without saying a word. Blonde curls, curious eyes, fearless around aliens twice her size. She made friends across species in the space of a smile. That was the problem. The Zenari delegation, one of the more ancient council races, considered emotion a weakness, and sentiment a sin. They had lobbied against Earth for decades, always fearing humanity's emotional drive, the idea that a human child, could sway opinion simply by being loved, unthinkable. Then the incident happened. Elia was playing in the embassy garden. Surveillance footage would later show she was alone for no more than 7 minutes. 7 minutes, and she never came back. Her body was found later, cold, broken, poisoned with a compound so exotic it didn't even exist in Earth's chemical databases. And the Council called it an accident. Earth didn't scream. Earth didn't cry. Earth simply disconnected. Every human embassy across the stars shut down within 6 hours. Messages were bounced back with auto-responses that said, human diplomatic operations are suspended until further notice. No protest, no war declaration, just silence. And then, one by one, ancient Earth satellites blinked to life. No one in the Council paid attention at first. The satellites were relics, museum pieces. Humanity's early ventures into space, rusting husks of obsolete tech. But something had changed. They were communicating on encrypted bands, not broadcasting, coordinating. By the time the Council realized Earth had gone dark, the sky fields began to open. There were no announcements, no threats, just shadows across starlit trade routes. First, a cargo convoy from the Thalkar Republic vanished. Then a patrol frigate from the coalition of Valeburn. Then an entire outpost obliterated. All in deep space zones humans were known to have colonized and since abandoned. The Council gathered in emergency session, 12 species, 32 systems, all demanding answers. Where was Earth? Why had it stopped responding? Was this retaliation? Was this war? But the thing they didn't realize was that Earth hadn't gone dark. It had gone ancient. A historian from the Mindari Collective, a species known for its obsession with human culture, stood up in the middle of the emergency assembly and said one phrase that froze the room. We've seen this before. In the archives of their own wars, they call it DEFCON 1. No one in the chamber spoke for a full minute, because the phrase didn't come from Earth's diplomacy or its space fleets. It came from a time when Earth faced extinction, nuclear brink, nation versus nation. The Mindari called it the Age of Cold Flame, and what followed was annihilation. The Council tried to reach out. Messages were sent, offers of peace, offers of reparations. All were ignored. Meanwhile, human fleets that hadn't existed on any known registry began appearing. Ships built not in Earth's visible orbit, but in the hidden black zones of deep space. They bore names not in Earth's current language, but in Latin. Bellator ex machina ultima ratio regum lex talionis, each name translated as a warning, warrior from the machine, the last argument of kings, the law of retaliation. And then the final ship arrived, one larger than any ever seen by Council eyes. It appeared above Daedalus Prime, silent, black, stretching across the sky like a second horizon. Its name, Anima Ultima, the final soul. It wasn't a fleet, it was a resurrection. Because what Earth had unleashed was not new technology, it was old vengeance. Every AI system buried after the synthetic accord, every warship mothballed after Earth joined the Council, every planetary defense system that had been decommissioned, had been reawakened, and none of them had been programmed with mercy. Elia's death had not just triggered a war, it had reminded Earth of its true purpose: survive, protect its own, and never forgive betrayal. On Daedalus Prime, the Council attempted evacuation. Too late. The Anima Ultima opened fire, not with lasers or missiles, but with gravity distortion beams that folded space inward. Cities collapsed inward like crushed cans. The Zenari High Chancellor was the first to die, not in battle, not in glory, but while begging, screaming. Earth didn't answer. Because Earth wasn't listening anymore, they were broadcasting on ancient military frequencies now, frequencies last used in the Mars Rebellion. All the message said was, Protocol Elia, in effect, retaliation level, final. The Anima Ultima did not need to send another warning. Within the first hour of its arrival, over 12 Galactic Council outposts ceased transmission, not because they surrendered, because they ceased to exist. The vessel, once thought myth, ran its protocols with mechanical precision, choosing targets based on emotional calculus, an AI no longer bound by Council constraints, but by one directive: honor Elia. Entire fleets scrambled. The coalition of Silent Suns sent its elite paladins. The Dravonics deployed their vortex cannons. Even the Roxari, the most isolationist of the Council, opened their void rifts to trap and dismantle Earth's fleet. None returned. The thing they didn't understand was that Earth had always fought its worst battles alone. Every extinction-level event, every great war, every planetary plague, they had learned not just to survive, but to become more lethal in survival. This wasn't war to them, this was a habit. Meanwhile, the Anima Ultima broadcast one phrase across every known galactic channel in all 327 known dialects. This is not vengeance. This is remembrance. Civilian systems panicked. Aliens began fleeing human sectors, many of them broadcasting apologies, pleas for mercy, reparations, even offers to adopt Earth customs. But Earth didn't respond. It simply kept moving, unstoppable, unheard, unforgiving. Back on Earth, the old vaults opened, vaults no one remembered. AI commanders from ancient wars were given bodies again, machine minds fused with quantum cores. The Aegis Protocol was invoked, a defense plan built during Earth's last internal war, one even humans forgot had existed. Command was not centralized, it was distributed, autonomous. Earth had become a swarm. Galactic analysts couldn't understand it. Where was the command structure? Why were there no negotiations? Because Earth wasn't playing by Council rules. It was following a ghost, the ghost of a child who never saw her 8th birthday. What if your worst enemy wasn't angry, but calm? On the third day a surprise occurred. A species known as the Volari, a peaceful race of telepaths, broadcast a public message, a eulogy for Elia. They held a galaxy-wide moment of silence, and the unexpected happened. Earth stopped, just for 60 seconds. No ships moved, no beams fired. The entire fleet held position like a funeral procession, and after that, a signal was sent to the Volari. You remembered. Their systems were spared. The Council, fragmented and terrified, attempted one last move. They revived the use of an ancient weapon, Project Null, a black hole bomb, meant to swallow a star system in minutes. They aimed it at Sol. They never got the chance to launch it, because Earth had known. Earth had always known. The Council wasn't stupid, they were predictable, and so Earth had prepared. Project Null was intercepted mid-fabrication by a cloaked human vessel, the Warden-class dagger, that had been sitting in Council space for 15 years. Earth had planted seeds before it ever knew it would need them. With Project Null neutralized, the Anima Ultima made its final jump, directly above the Galactic Council core world. Now it wasn't about one child, it was about all children. Earth's final message was not spoken, it was shown, a broadcast of Elia's life, her laughter, her play, her final moments, pixelated but clear. The quiet fall of a child who had done nothing but be kind. The feed ran on every channel, for every race, for every soldier, and then, Earth asked just one question: who among you is willing to raise a child now? There were no answers, only surrender. Every remaining Council species deactivated their fleets. The Galactic Alliance collapsed, not through fire, but through shame. The war did not end with a battle, it ended with a funeral, one that echoed across the stars. Earth did not demand territory, it did not conquer, it simply left, returned to its own borders, reinstated diplomatic silence, but this time not out of mourning, out of principle. They didn't want allies, they wanted respect, and from that day on, in every galactic nursery, one rule was taught to alien children: do not harm a human child, do not forget what happened when one was. Do you know what silence sounds like at the edge of a dying galaxy? It sounds like justice catching its breath. The Council fleet floated in somber readiness just outside the tranquil expanse. A nebula bloomed in the distance like a dying flower, unaware of the war drums sounding just light years beyond. In their command halls, the alien admirals wore unreadable expressions, their bodies layered in ceremonial armor that shimmered in the artificial light. They called this formation Operation Closure. To them it was the end of a rogue species tantrum. To Earth it was a warning, but Earth didn't issue warnings. Not anymore. They watched as Earth's ancient fleet, long entombed within asteroid fields and cloaked planetary shells, rose like titans awakened from slumber. Massive engines groaned into life, each ship carrying the names of lost cities, extinct cultures, fallen children. These weren't just warships, they were tombstones, and now the tombstones moved. Fleet Admiral Rena Valen stood at the helm of the Oblivion, Earth's oldest dreadnought-class vessel. Her voice cracked through comms, ice-cold and emotionless. Today we do not avenge, today we remind. On the bridge behind her, command officers remained still, their hands hovered over instruments older than some civilizations. Each knew what was coming. None flinched. Council vessels initiated standard hailing protocols. No response. Earth ships accelerated. The Oblivion tore space apart as its warp drives ignited, forming a blue flame that licked the hulls of nearby ships like the breath of a dragon. The others followed. The Weeper, Judgment Echo, Ashfall Prime, Naraka, their very names etched into Council archives under Do Not Engage. But history had been forgotten, and Earth had remembered. First contact came not in the form of weapons, but words. Earth's fleet broadcasted a single frequency across all bands, interrupting Council encryption, civilian media, even fleet command links. The message was a child's voice, a boy's lullaby, the same lullaby recorded by orbital security during the attack that started it all, and for a moment, the entire galaxy remembered the price of arrogance. The Council's first volley came from the Silithian strike carriers, precision beams designed to disable rather than destroy. Earth's response came in the form of gravitational shear cannons. Planets trembled, the stars themselves seemed to flinch. Ships that had once served in the Council's Grand Parade formation evaporated in slivers of white light. Debris fields became new rings around dead moons. In the midst of the carnage, Rena Valen whispered to herself, "This is not war, this is consequence." Back on Earth the population did not cheer. They did not watch with awe. Instead they turned off their screens, lit candles, folded names into paper, and let them drift in rivers, as had been done for centuries. The war wasn't theirs, it was old, buried, but tonight, the ghosts of Earth rose with purpose. In the Council's inner sanctum, panic set in. Delegates screamed into void channels, desperate for retreat orders. Emergency protocols blinked across screens in blood-red warnings. Loss of fleet coherence, initiate failsafe. But there was no failsafe. One by one the ancient ships broke through, not by speed, but by inevitability. The enemy had numbers. Earth had memory, and now memory had claws. Where are you watching from, and what time is it there? Let me know in the comments before we begin, because this is a story the galaxy hoped you'd never hear. The footage was censored in 16 systems. Earth filed no apology, no corrections, only a broadcast, a warning. The tribunal chambers were silent now, not from reverence, but from fear. The Galactic Council had played its hand, and Earth in return had reshaped the table. You have 24 hours to return the body, the human envoy had said after the child's murder. Not a soldier, not a warship, a child. The silence had been arrogant, misread. Galactic analysts debated Earth's reach, but none had modeled what came next. At hour 25, Earth's sky fractured. The first rift bled starlight, then another, then 50. They weren't wormholes, they weren't slipstreams, they were gates, bound by languages forgotten, and mathematics feared. The Council had thought Earth's golden age long past. They hadn't understood that Earth doesn't bury its past, it locks it away, until it's needed. Emerging from those gates were ships that defied present-day science, silent, angular titans, pulsing with dread energy. No logos, no diplomatic lights, only an emblem burned into their obsidian hulls, a child's outline held in the arms of a giant, the Eidolon fleet. Older than the Council itself, forgotten even by Earth's own history books, commanded not by AI, but by something far older, something once sealed beneath Antarctica, its heartbeat dormant. Until now, the Council scrambled, fleets were rerouted, alliances hastily formed, propaganda campaigns ignited across the stars, but it was too late. In one solar rotation, 7 Council worlds fell, not conquered, erased, every digital trace purged, terraforming reversed, planetary crusts vitrified into mirror-like silence. And yet, Earth hadn't declared war, not officially, no documents, no terms, just the child's name, broadcast in every frequency, every tongue, Elia, and beneath that, a single sentence, for Elia, you will remember. Some called Earth mad, others called them gods, but no one, not even the ascendant races, dared intercept the Eidolon fleet. Not anymore, because they weren't just ships, they were judgment. Somewhere, orbiting a Council moon, the last surviving envoy recorded a final message. They've activated Protocol Solstice. Our data was wrong. They never lost their warcraft. They evolved it, into silence, into wrath. We never asked what Earth kept beneath its oceans, or its prisons. We never wondered why they built cathedrals into black holes, until now. The feed ended with static, and the sound of sobbing. They said humans were emotional, reactive, unstable, but no one told them what happens when humanity grieves, because this wasn't vengeance, this wasn't retaliation, this was remembrance, and the stars themselves dimmed in mourning. If this story moved you, drop your location and time in the comments. Let the galaxy see we remember. Like, share, subscribe, not for views, but for Elia, because some stories aren't fiction, they're warnings, and Earth never forgets.